Hey guys, and welcome back to the Solo Fighter Illusionist playthrough. You'll notice that before I started recording this, I went and turned the Book of Infinite Spells over to True Seeing. So I'm still going to have True Sight memorized most likely, but I won't necessarily need multiple casts of it.
I hope this is worth it.
So we're going to start by going through the Underdark. The first thing that we're going to do is go to the Kuo-Toas dungeon in order to get the belt that gives you 21 strength. There is a merchant here. He does eventually sell Mordenkainen's sword, but I think you need to do some of the other quests in this area before he does that. So if you weren't lucky like me and actually got the scroll yourself earlier, then you can get it here. I also want to pick up 2 freedom scrolls because one I do want to learn and the other I do want to cast in order to free a mage in this area. You're going to see me using quite a lot of the Wand of Cloudkill in this area, mainly because some enemies it can take out instantly, and other enemies it just does good damage to, like the Kuo-Toas. The Kuo-Toas can also see through invisibility, so keep that in mind. So this is what I was talking about not really needing the Shield of Baldur on, is I can take out these beholders without any problem at all. Now we are going to go to the beholder area later on in this video. And there are a couple Elder Orbs. Now, Elder Orbs will use imprisonment, so I won't be immune to that. But pretty much everything else, because my saves are so low, I think they're at like -4 right now. They can't hit me with anything. Although I think they did remove my stone skin, which is a bit annoying. This is the room that we'll be getting the strength belt at. Now you do need to sacrifice a summon, so I do use the sword here. And I think these guys can cast stuff like death spell or magic damage of some kind, so I decided to take them out by using improved haste instead. And it just does so much damage at this point. I also put on Spell Trap. I keep forgetting to do that, but Spell Trap from the Staff of the Magi is incredibly useful for getting back spells and just generally protecting you from magic. The Belt of Inertial Barrier is no longer that useful to us because we do have the Cloak of Mirroring. It's only really giving us the save to breath and the missile damage reduction, which isn't that useful. And we do level up in order to get level 8 spells by this point. I drop a couple more points into Critical Strike so we can use it more often. And we do have level 8 spells now. For level 8 spells, I'm a bit undecided on what I should be using right now, but I decided to memorize a couple Incendiary Clouds. Because since I can't use Hard Wilting, that's kind of my next best area of effect damage spell. I also memorize Pure Shield, which might be useful because I don't actually have Ruby Ray or Warding Whip memorized right now. The Kuo-Toas and Prince will regenerate extremely quickly if you don't put the corrupted tadpoles in the water there. So I decided to make the fight a lot easier by doing that. I probably could have killed him with just improved haste, but it makes it a lot easier if you just do that. Even though the Drow have really good magic resistance, I do still like throwing out cloud kills here if I can possibly. Because it does stuff like interrupt spell casting, of course, and it will occasionally do decent damage as well. Just the fact that it lasts for an entire turn means that you're likely to hit them a few times at least.
it must be done.
You're going to notice that we're going to get an incredible amount of experience in general from the Underdark, because when these drow are dying for 10,000 experience each, it's ridiculous. Now, one thing that I realised after the fact is I think this Nishru was hitting me and was draining my Rod of Resurrection. So it was actually hitting me and taking charges off it, because I noticed it was down to like 5 charges later on. So that is one thing to keep in mind. I'm actually checking my spells to see if he's removing some of my spells at the same time.
I'm waiting.
So I probably should have killed him first if I was doing this optimally. Alternatively, I could have used Death Fog if I had it memorized.
Away with you. Hold still. Away with you. Time. Let's do this quick and pain. Time is up for you, my friend.
This next fight is going to be against the Lich. Now, this is the point where I realised that I don't actually have either Ruby Ray or something that can take down Spell Trap memorised, like Pure Shield. I said before that enemies didn't seem to use Spell Trap very much, but I must have been remembering that wrong, because these high level Liches seem to do it pretty much all the time. So I think in that regard Ruby Ray is probably a better spell to use than Warding Whip, because Warding Whip will not dispel Spell Trap. And we are going to get Ruby Ray of Reversal in Usnatha when we go there. One of the vendors sells it, so not really too far away anyway. Liches seem to like to use both Spell Trap and Protection from Magical Weapons, so I can't hit them with the Staff of the Magi to dispel them because they have Protection from Magical Weapons up. So in those cases I need to get rid of the Spell Trap through either using Ruby Ray of Reversal or Pure Shield, and then I'll need to hit them with a Breach, and that should get rid of pretty much all the protection they have up. Of course, they do use contingencies and stuff later on, so they might throw up another Stone Skin or whatever. We're going to go ahead and do all of the elemental portals now. So if you free the mage first, you will actually miss out on a lot of experience, because there's about 10 of these elementals at each portal, and they all give like 6,000 or 7,000 experience each.
Time is up. Hold still. Hold still. Let's do this quick and pain. Yeah. Hold still. Hold. Time is up for you, my friend.
I would definitely say that I'm not making use of blur or improved invisibility as much as I should. Mainly because it gives you such a good AC bonus and also a save bonus on top of that. So I know that I already have saves in the negatives, but some enemies will cast Greater Malison on you, and also there's stuff like, I think it's like Dragon's Wind Buffet, or at least add-ons I think, because I am actually going to fight her just for a bit of fun. And I think it's like a -10 saving throw penalty. I don't know if that's entirely accurate, but I think you eventually become immune to being hit to the floor with Wing Buffet if you have a high enough save. I don't think it's a spell or an effect that has no save, as far as I know. And also, you could use something like a contingency for helpless status, where you get, like, I don't know, crowd controlled in some way, and set it to improved invisibility, and that could be a very useful one. I decided to use Web on this portal. Web is a spell that I've really not used at all, and it's incredibly useful. Using it with Greater Malison as well is just great. But it really works even into a Throne of Ball, just because of the save penalty on it, and it ticks every round. So as you can see with these fire elementals, they're spawning in and then immediately getting held, and then there's nothing they can really do about it. So I'm going to try and make better use of it in the future, if I remember. But at the same time, we're fighting Drow, and Drow unfortunately have pretty good saves, and they have magic resistance. So against those enemies, it's not that great to use against.
Let's do yeah.
Thank you for releasing me. I was sure my destiny was to end imprisoned here forever. I've never been more glad to be wrong.
Yes.
Travelers to our fair city. That would be rare enough, but you are surfacers by the look of you.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
No use to anyone tired.
This Baldur here, I think he continuously tries to paralyze you. So you can see all the save versus spells I'm rolling for paralyze, but none of them are obviously going through because my save is at -4. Because of that, normally he can be quite tricky in a party. But since we're one character with really good saves, not so much of a concern this time.
You are welcome back. We had worried for your safety as though one of our own were in danger.
Yes.
What I have had happen to me with this mage quest before is when we do this first part with the earth elemental, he does get attacked by it because he is standing closer to it technically. And I've had it before where he takes a lot of damage from it and almost dies. And when we go to the final part of the quest and I turn on him, then he basically casts time stop and then dimension doors out and then just runs away. And we don't get any reward for it. Because he will be the guy that will be dropping the time stop scroll for us. And I also level up again, I get another proficiency. This is when I was kind of not sure what to do with my proficiencies. So I end up putting it in quarterstaffs because I have been using the Staff of Magi quite a lot. My thinking was that I'm eventually going to get some greater whirlwinds going to use for two-handed weapons just for fun, mostly. Because I do kind of, you know, I'm pretty happy with the Flail of Ages and Belm, but the Staff of the Magi is a good weapon to use for dispelling, of course. And I'm thinking about what else to put a point into eventually. Maybe the two-handed swords for Soul Reaver is my thinking. Because my alignment is eventually going to change. Or halberds for Ravager. So I'm not sure about that one yet. I was initially thinking like axes or katanas, but I've got enough one-handed weapons, I think, and they do their job well enough, I would say. So that's what I was going with for now.
One more trip and
Yeah.
not again. They would have made copies again.
In cactus.
I could have played this fight a little bit better if I memorized Death Fog beforehand. I really should memorize at least one cast of it just for summons purposes, because this guy loves to cast a bunch of summons. So he does have protection from magical weapons up, so I do hit him with a Pierce Shield and a Breach. The unfortunate part of Breach is that I will not take down those illusions like Mirror Image. You would need to use True Sight for that as well. So I speed up the process by using the Staff of the Magi, which will take those down. It can also take illusions like Mislead clones down immediately, as you can see. So there's quite a few scrolls that he drops, one of them being Time Stop. There's also Horrid Wilting. If you're not an illusionist, you can use that, of course. And he also drops the Skull. The Skull is kind of interesting because it will allow you to cast Death Spell once per day, which we normally can't cast. So it is only one cast of it, but it is a way to circumvent being an illusionist and not being able to cast Death Spell. But I don't see myself using it very much, honestly. I probably should have equipped it immediately and cast it on these Kuo-Toas just to see if it works on them. I think they do have 8 hit die or something like that, so it would kill them instantly, or at least some of them, I believe. But Cloud Kill honestly works just as well, just meleeing them down. We're gonna have any of our stone skins immediately dispelled when we do the Beholder Lair anyway. As I mentioned earlier, there are Elder Orbs in here, so I cast Spell Immunity Abjuration immediately. So there's 2 Elder Orbs in this lair. The first one is right as you enter, so be careful with that. But what we're going to do is, I'm going to kill the first one here, and then I'm going to run to the back of the lair and kill the other one while I still have Spell Immunity that's working. And then we're pretty much going to go through the rest of the area with no concern, because none of these beholders can do anything to us. So maybe buying the Shield of Baldur was a bit of a mistake, but you get so much money in this game eventually it doesn't even matter, I think. So yeah, this is the other Elder Orb here. I don't think either of them actually do cast Imprisonment, but it is worth targeting them first anyway. So we're going to go through the rest of this layer. There's not too much that is really useful to us. You do pick up the greenstone amulet here, but honestly by this point we're immune to quite a lot of crowd control abilities anyway, so not that useful for us at this point. The one thing that I will say is really annoying is the fact that the beholders will cast anti-magic ray at you, which lasts 3 rounds and will completely prevent you from casting anything, so you can't even cast stuff like stone skin. And there's a few drow in this cave that is kind of annoying to deal with if you don't have a stone skin up. But otherwise there's not too much here. There's some treasure here. I think there's like, yeah, there's quite a lot of gold here that you can pick up as well. I decided at this point to put a warding whip in here as well, but I actually change it eventually over to a 4th cast of the Mord Sword because we're going into the Illithid area next, and Illithids are really weak to Mord Swords, so I'm going to stock up on those for that area. You'll see I'll have a little trouble here because of the fact that I can't cast Stone Skin right now. This is what I mentioned with the Beholder anti-magic ray. So I end up having to kite these guys around a little before I can cast it. We do get ambushed a couple times when I try to rest here. So theoretically you could grind off these guys because they do give 9,000 experience each. And I am pretty much immune to everything that they do. That's pretty much going to be it for the Beholder layer though, so I'll see you guys next time.